Hello friends, good morning. I had a couple questions about how to assemble a McCormick dairy and cream separator from one of my previous YouTube videos, so we're going to go through that real fast. I'll show you a couple tips and tricks for cleaning it and replacing bearings and part of the restoration process if it needs a little work. So the first thing I'm going to do is break it down. This is a 2S, so it does 500 pounds of milk an hour. And I have actually two parts from a 3S on here that I've made work because they weren't working right. So anyway, this is your bowl. This has one little flip valve right here. This is very important to wash and keep clean, so I like to run hot water soap through that and then keeping the bowl nice and clean. I always like to clean it out before I use it. This is your float. It is very important to have this because what this does is it regulates the flow of the milk as it comes out. This will actually come up and act like a bobber or a stop on the bottom of the bowl. This is your cream dome. So the cream centrifuge spins, and this is what catches it, and it falls down into the very top one. Now here's your you can tell the difference between the cream spout and the skim milk spout. This is the one that goes on the bottom, the one with the bigger hole. The smaller hole one goes on top because that's exactly how it fits in your centrifuge. So when you go to put it back together, you'll set your cream can on this stool and then your skim milk bucket will sit on the floor. And then finally, this is your centrifuge. You can see on the bottom here, hopefully, there's a little notch right there. There's a keyway on the peg that spins on your cream separator. That's how you know it's set down there. Well, this is the most important and most complicated, so I'm going to spend some time breaking this down. You have your lock nut on top. You take that off, and putting your centrifuge together can be kind of tricky. So the cream spins out these little holes right here. There's two of them, one on each side. Okay, if your separator does not have a really good gasket, I would highly recommend getting one. Either you can buy old centrifuges on eBay, and it's kind of a roll of the dice. Now, so this is the top of your plate. This is your plate cap. And this again has a little keyway in it. You can see that right there. And that will slide on right here. Now these are your plates. And these are a bear to wash. Takes quite a bit of time. And you'll see there's a pattern to how these fit on your centrifuge. I'm going to take all these off real quick. Okay. So this is the bottom of the centrifuge all broke down, and you can see that there are three splines, a small one, a medium one, and a large one. What you have to do is put your spline cap on. This is the very first piece to go on your naked centrifuge, and you'll see that there are, yes, three sized spline holes. So you'll line that up. The way I like to do this is I put the biggest spline on the bottom, because when you put your plates on, they all line up the same way. Okay, so now you can see if the biggest spline is on the bottom, it has one hole on each side. So when I grab my stack of plates, it too, there it is. So everything's lined up, and you'll just put them on one by one. I'm going to put a couple of them on here so you can see it. There is no particular order to how the plates go on. You just have to make sure that they all go. You don't want to jam them or force them on there because these are super thin. If you do that, it'll bend these little necks right there. So that's what you really just want to be careful with. All right. So let's pretend I put all my plates on and it's stacked clear full. I put my plate cap on. You would see normally all the plates fill all this up. Make sure you put your gasket on. If you don't put that thing on, huge mess all over your kitchen. Okay, so last thing, you can see there's a keyway on this thing at the top right there, and there's a keyway right here. You got to line those up. Okay, and then you put your cap on. All right, so now let's go ahead and assemble the cream separator. We put this on first. Find your keyway. I like to face it towards me. Put that on there. Okay, spins freely. Next we'll grab our spouts and we'll put the one with the biggest, that's our skim milk hole. We'll put that right over the top of the centrifuge. Fasten it down, and I like to go ahead and twist it to where my skim bucket's gonna be. Then we'll take our cream spout, put that right over the cream bucket. Next is our float. Never mind. Our cream cap, there. Now our float. And lastly, the bowl. The bowl is tricky because it has two grooves right here. You fit those in first, and then the last is the far right one. Make sure your bowl is closed before you start putting milk in. And then cranking it by hand, I still use a hand crank. It's a great workout. You gotta make sure you have it up to 48 RPMs. I use a metronome, and I will set it to 96. So 96 is every other bead drop in the crank. There's a little ball bearing in there. Bink, bink. All right, let's talk about some restoration real quick. When I got this thing, most of the bearings were seized up, so I had to disassemble the whole thing. Taking it apart here in the middle. Taking it apart here at the middle joint, I cleaned out the overflow spout here in the bowl. I took this cap off right here and I replaced the bearing here. And I used, the brand of bearings I use is Timken. I think it was about $60 worth of Timken bearings to replace, and I believe there are 5 of them. And they're very common size. They're very easy to find. Any tractor store will have them. And then the oil that you want to replace it with, I use a 10-weight non-detergent oil. And the reason for that being is if you do not have your overflow cleaned out and milk just happens to get in the oil reservoir and you're not using non-detergent, they will create this awful, nasty sludge. It's awful. And yes, that did happen to me. So, just out of experience, that's kind of what we do. If you have any more questions, I hope I covered everything you were looking for. If there's something that's not working, let me know. Anyway, best of luck on your restoration project. If there's anything else you want me to go through, just leave a comment. We'll do it. Thank you, guys. We'll see you later.